I promise if you switch to this way of eating, you are going to notice an immediate difference. You might blow your mind with how much weight you lose, even if you are 50 to 100 pounds overweight. This isn't about starving yourself or suffering. It's about using your body's natural advantages to make weight loss much easier. I'm not just giving you a couple recipes, I'm giving you my entire recipe book that fits this plan. But more importantly, I'm showing you like how to eat in order to make weight loss effortless, because it's really more about the how. The recipes I'm just going to give you, and it's a link in the description or in the pinned comment. So it's not really about the recipes. As cool as they are, they're really simple, and we're going to go over them, the advantages of them in this video. But it's really about the how behind it. And if you eat like this, you can apply any recipe. You just kind of tweak the recipe a little bit, and you are going to be able to lose weight significantly easier. First, I want to bring up why this will work. You have a hidden superpower if you have like 50 pounds to lose or more, and it is that doing activities of daily living, the things that people take for granted, are a lot harder for you. You might not realize it because you've gotten so used to it, but you're carrying around a lot more weight. So we can use this to your advantage, and I'm going to get in like how, right now on this point, how this relates to how you eat. The typical misunderstanding is that people think that if you have a lot of weight to lose, that it makes losing weight harder. It kind of does, in that your journey is longer and you have to be more on point. You need a solid plan like I'm giving you right here. You can't just willy-nilly it, because your journey is going to take a little bit. And there's going to be lots of things that could potentially derail you, but you actually have an easier time losing body fat than if you only have 10 pounds to lose, because you are burning a lot more calories. We're going to get into the reasons for it, but this is the easiest time to lose body fat, is whenever you have a lot of weight to lose. So this is an advantage for you because you're going to be burning so many calories. You have more muscle, all this stuff. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people pushing their grocery carts up a hill. One is full of groceries and the other is just pushing a cart. Which one is going to have the easier time? Obviously, the empty cart is going to be a much easier job to push up a hill. You're like the cart that is full. You have a lot that you are carrying up a hill. And, that's just in everyday things, tying your shoes. And I mean, I'm sure you understand. I've been there before and I get it. It is difficult to do activities of everyday living. Going up a flight of stairs is twice as hard. Now, you might not realize that, and that is your superpower. I'm going to get into, like I said, how that benefits you so much. And I want you to be encouraged by this, because you can do this. You can lose the weight, especially if you have a lot of weight to lose. You have such an awesome advantage that we're going to get into. One major advantage of this is that, and this is kind of the heart into like what bleeds into the diet side of things, is that you have more muscle than you probably realize. You have more muscle than the average person. You've been carrying around weight that the average person does not have to carry around, which means your muscles had to adapt and grow and get stronger and bigger in order to carry around that weight. That means you're going to be burning more calories. But that means that we have to eat the right way to keep that muscle, potentially build, not just potentially, you will build more muscle if you follow this plan. And your metabolism will be high. Your metabolism already, believe it or not, is higher than average because you're carrying around so much weight and because you have more muscle. We want to keep that. We want to keep that advantage, because that's what's going to see you through to the very end of your weight loss journey, instead of going the other way and going back up on the graph, on the weight loss graph, weight gain graph at that point, because we didn't do the right things. So I call this my fat loss multiplier with no extra effort. It really does increase your calorie burn and increase your fat loss for literally no effort. So the problem is that, hunger, cravings, losing muscle during this journey, that is a real thing that happens during a weight loss journey. I'm sure that's common sense. You've ran into that plenty of times. Protein keeps you full and helps you protect muscle, helps you keep your muscle, also build muscle, and it burns calories just to simply digest. You can think of protein you can think of the macros, I guess, as a campfire, where the kindling, the stuff that gets the fire started is like carbs. Now, carbs aren't bad. I don't want to pick on carbs. A person needs them if they're really, really low carb. Keto's fine if you love keto, but for the average person, if you're really low on carbs, you're going to be lethargic. You're going to, have headaches, things like that. But also, you're not going to have the energy to output, which is what I talk about in a lot of my videos. This one's more focused on what we're putting into our body, but we got to get the exercise and stuff as well. And the carbs are going to help you do that. So, there's nothing wrong with carbs. But carbs are like kindling that, you eat it. Imagine a donut. I mean, 300, 400 calories like that, maybe more. and you're hungry in 30 minutes because it was like kindling. It burned up really quick. Whereas protein's kind of like a thick log that burns for hours and hours and hours, stays hot, helps you to continue burning calories way after you light that fire. So it keeps you full. It burns calories for far longer. That thermic effect of food, which I don't think I actually named it, but whenever I said that you burn calories for free just by consuming protein, it increases your calorie burn. That's because of the thermic effect of food. It takes a lot more energy to break down a steak than it does, rice. This would be a good time to mention and remind you of my cookbook that is in the description and the first pinned comment. This is going to make everything so much easier. If you literally just follow the cookbook, I was telling my wife today, if you literally just eat from the foods in the cookbook, it's going to be hard not to lose weight because you're going to be so full all the time. But eating protein alone won't cut it. It's not just about increasing your protein. If your meals are too far apart or if they're too close together, and we're going to talk about that here in a second, you're still going to be hungry, or it's going to throw off the timing of when you eat. And so that's where the next step really comes in. So we're going to try to be finding the perfect balance between your meals and your snacks. And this depends on each person. Someone might just like to eat 3 meals, and that's totally fine. I think the sweet spot is going to be 3 to 5 meals or like snacks. So I do like 3 meals and probably, 2 snacks. It could be considered like 4 meals in a snack because one of the snacks is kind of larger. But I eat more because of everything I'm telling you here. I'm able to eat more and still lose weight. So eating too few meals leaves you, feeling kind of unsatisfied, almost like a tease. Eating too few meals means that you're eating, like 1 or 2 meals a day. And I just think that leaves you like hungry. But if you eat, I'm getting confused. If you eat way too many meals, like 6 or 7 meals, then they're just snacks and it kind of teases you. Sorry if that was confusing. That was dumb. But you get what I'm saying. Too much, too often, eating 7, 8 times a day is just crazy. And then eating 1 or 2 times a day, I just don't see that works. There is the OMAD or whatever, the 1 meal a day plan. I don't see many people that have long-term success on that at all, so I'm not a big fan of it. So like I said, 3 to 5 meals seems to be the good spot. And I call them meals, but 2 of them, could be snacks or whatever. But for me, it really is more like 4 meals. I think that helps you control your hunger and maintain your muscle. I think studies show that up to 5 times a day is like where muscle protein synthesis can occur, at least in measurable volumes. Anything past 5 seems to be a waste, and I think those meals start to get too small, and it's just kind of a tease. And anything below 3, you're missing out on significant muscle protein synthesis to keep your muscle and build muscle. But 4 or 5 is kind of optional. So anyways, that's the number of meals that I would recommend. This is kind of like gasoline in a car. If you barely eat all day, then you're going to be running low by the time you get to dinner. And that's where cravings really kick in. You might relate to that. That is something that, a lot of us go through is, I'm going to save calories until the end. And then we just kind of somehow eat double what we thought. We thought we had plenty, but we needed more. And that's because you're kind of running on low. If you eat too often, your meals are tiny, never really satisfying. It's just like making it to the next gas station. You get enough gas to make it to the next gas station. Funny, I was literally waiting in line. Someone cut in front of everyone at the gas station. This was like 3 days ago. And she gave someone $5. And I don't know. I did the math on the average car that would get her like 20 miles, which I guess that's enough to, get home. I don't know what her situation was. She just seemed kind of rude to the cashier. So it was a completely random story. This was not in my script or whatever, but it'll get you to the next gas station. So eating too often, that's kind of what it feels like. The middle ground seems to be like that 3 to 5, like I said, and that's like filling up once a week or filling up every 5 days. It's manageable. I don't have to fill up too often. It doesn't just get me to the next gas station, and it seems to fit. That's what most people do, and it seems to fit lifestyle pretty easily. With 3 to 5 meals, you always have something to look forward to. You're eating often enough where you have something to look forward to. But you're not eating so often that they're tiny. But even if you still, have the right number of meals, that's, cravings still hit. We all know this is going to happen. Like, it's not like meal number is magically going to fix that. It helps, but that's where we're going to try to cheat the system. That's where this next thing comes into play. So even with the right number of meals, cravings for sweets or, really palatable things, junk food of any sort, fill in the blank. It doesn't have to just be sweets. It could be chips or something as well. high calorie drinks. That's another one, or soda or whatever. These things can come into play. So using 0-calorie options, we all know them, but it's nice to have a reminder of a list. And these are my top 3 that I use. You can think of these like training wheels on a bike, like if you're learning to ride a bike. Training wheels keep you stable. That's what these hacks are going to do. They're going to keep you stable, even though you're in this dieting process. It helps to kind of keep everything smooth. So they make it easier to stay on track, and you don't really, need them forever. Although there's not a problem with using these forever either. So diet soda is not your enemy. Diet soda is my favorite 0-calorie or very, very low-calorie tool. There's no studies that show, outside of rats where they inject entirely too much of that stuff into them, there's nothing that shows that diet soda is bad. It leads to increased weight loss. Even compared to water, it leads to better health outcomes. Even if you're like, no, I refuse diet soda, XYZ, fill in the blank, it's bad for you. I promise you're going to be healthier if you just lean on this crutch, if you lean on these training wheels for a little bit. Okay, so let's say you lose 100 pounds. I promise you're going to live longer losing 100 pounds, having drinking diet soda to get there, to help you get there, than if you avoided diet soda and kept the weight. So if you're able to do all this without the crutch of diet soda, fine. By all means, go for it. It doesn't matter. You can drink flavored water. That really helps as well. That's another one that's in this list. And then gum. Sometimes just chewing gum, or just the act of chewing, is all that our brain is really craving. And so that will really help. A big glass of water before and after a meal. That will really help. Obviously, it's 0-calorie. You could do that with soda, but that's not like really chuggable. But yeah, I guess you're good. So these are all things that are going to help you control your cravings. And if you use them all, I know that it's easy for our brain in one ear, out the other, because we've heard this before. But imagine using all of these. Diet soda to get your sweets craving. Water before and after a meal to, fill you up even more. Gum in combination with that, in order, maybe after, I guess, you drink the soda, that'd be gross. But, drink your soda and then chew some gum. Imagine using all these things together. Flavored water. All of this is going to keep you full, and it's going to help you stick to your diet. And that consistency, that's what's really going to make a difference here. Even with all these tricks, you might still be adding, unknowingly, of course, hundreds, maybe more, probably hundreds of calories without even realizing it. And that's where I'm going to tell you the easiest 500-calorie hack this removal of 500 calories is so simple and so easy. Almost all of my clients, we end up having to do this. Or I end up finding it, I should say, in their food log. You're probably missing out if you haven't looked into this point. So these hidden calories, they add up a lot faster than you think. Swapping out oil is the simplest way to reduce calories without noticing. There is a slight, taste difference, but there's no volume difference. The oil coats everything, and so there's almost no volume difference at all. You won't really notice it in terms of what you're putting into your body, like the amount that you're eating. You'll be able to eat a lot more. That's why my recipes in my cookbook never call for oil. I have nothing against fat. It's just if we add too much, then the serving size would be tiny. What was I eating today? It was the Alfredo. I think it was the high protein Alfredo. It is shocking how much food. I mean, the bowl, I'm not exaggerating it because it was just a normal dinner bowl. Almost couldn't hold it. I was literally thinking towards the end, man, it's going to start spilling over the side. It is that filling. It's because it doesn't have a bunch of oil in it. It has really low fat protein and, chicken breast, and extremely low fat or fat-free dairy. That's what makes the cheese sauce. And so it's, it is a winning formula to remove oil. Now, there does become the problem of the nonstick, and your brain's probably already went there as soon as I said that. The solution to that is nonstick cooking spray. So anytime you're cooking in a dish or whatever, just use nonstick spray. Be cautious with it. It is surprising how many calories. That's still oil, in the nonstick spray. I think I did the math on it once, and different ones are going to be different. It's mainly a volume thing, like how big the can is. But the normal Pam-sized can that you get from Walmart or whatever has 7,000 calories in it. So it's not calorie free, but it's, I literally just spray it only what is needed for nonstick purposes, and it seems to work fine. Imagine looking at your bank account and seeing $500 just missing. And the bank statement doesn't say anything, but there was $500 extra in there, and you have no idea what you spent it on. That's like oil. You don't even realize how much you're consuming. A lot of people think that they're adding 1 tablespoon. I literally did this experiment with a client where I had her measure the bottle before and then do her normal cooking and then measure the bottle after. Now, this is with her knowing I was going to check in on it. So she probably added less than she normally does. Now, this also could be an extreme situation. This might not be you, but she was adding 7 tablespoons into the entire recipe. I don't know what 7 times 120 is, but that 120 calories is, you're probably doing it on your phone right now. Whatever that number is that you're seeing is, maybe I'll put it in the editing. But that is how much she was adding to each recipe. Now, granted, that would make like 4 meals or something, so it wasn't like horrible. But still, it was a shocking number of calories. To a salad or something, that would easily add, I don't know, like 700 calories or something to the whole salad. So a lot of times people are adding more than a tablespoon, so 120 calories. If you accidentally add 2, that's 240 calories to whatever you're eating. Imagine doing that twice a day. Boom, there's your weight loss right there, that one fix. Even if you cut oil and you use these 0-calorie hacks and you're eating protein, if you're not prepared, you're going to grab junk food. And so what I'm going to tell you next, the secret weapon that I use for all my clients, is very important. You got to hear it. When hunger hits, we always grab what's convenient. So we want to be ready. We want something to be convenient. So meal prep is the obvious decision that removes the fatigue of, like when you are fatigued, of making that decision of what your meals are. So it's not effortless, but it's, it's close. It's as close as you're going to get to be, well, I can pull this out. And if it's a good meal, instead of like chicken, broccoli, and rice or something, which is fine, but only for so long, if it's from my cookbook, you will actually want to pull it out of the fridge. It's kind of like packing for a trip. Would you go on a week-long trip without a bag at all? Probably not. Probably just doesn't sound smart. Spontaneous, maybe. But we shouldn't go into the week with no meals either. So if you have food ready, you're much less likely to grab junk. I like to batch cook every weekend for the week. So I'll literally cook 3 meals in my recipe book. You'll see it's crazy. A lot of people, if there is any negative feedback on my cookbook, it's that the meals are so large. So I'll just tell them cut everything in half. But it does make 9, 10, sometimes 11 meals. Sometimes as low as like 7 or something. But it's a meal prep size thing. So if you make 3 of those, that's enough for us. And we have a family of 3. And so, kind of use that to judge for yourself. But I do that every Saturday and Sunday. I cook like 1 Saturday meal just so it's hot. And then on Sunday, I'll prep 2 meals and we'll have one of those for dinner so it's hot. And then put the rest in the fridge, and we literally eat on it the rest of the week. If you portion the meals in the containers, and this would be a good time to mention the cookbook again, I have on there grams, so you don't have to like portion them out. If it's 10, you don't have to wonder, well, what's a serving size? I tell you on the cookbook. So if it says 435 grams, then you just put 435 grams into each Tupperware, and then you pull it out, put it in the microwave, and it's delicious. So there's Mexican lasagna in there. There's high protein mac and cheese. And it's delicious stuff. So it really helps whenever you don't have to think about how much, and the meal prep and the ingredients, all that is just taken care of for you. It's so cool. But even if your meals are prepped, hunger can still derail you. And so I'm going to go into my hunger system, if you will. So it's a hidden thing, kind of like a tripwire or something, that hangs you up. So the main part of the system is strategic hunger control, where we're thinking about it before it hits. That's what's really, really key. So drink more water before meals. I already talked about that, but that will really help you. That's the main benefit. I don't think drinking more water really helps a person lose much fat, to be honest. I think the main thing is that it's entertaining their mouth. It's entertaining their appetite. And, that whole, like, your brain thinks that you thought you were hungry, but you're actually thirsty. It removes that. But I think mainly it's just filling you up a little bit. So I think that's pretty important. So eating the high volume, low calorie foods, these are like veggies, lean meats, high fiber, carbs, super low fat dairy or fat-free dairy. These are the heart of my recipe book. So, but that's like the general, like you could separate out my recipe book into the elements. That's what it is. If you added those elements to your own recipes or, to just your own meal plan, then that's going to give you a lot of volume. You combine that with water and the 0 calorie hacks that I mentioned earlier. My gosh, you're just consuming so much. It's hard to fall off your diet whenever there's so much that you're consuming. but it's not putting you over your calories. Now, I mentioned earlier not to save your calories. And I mean that, like, don't save 50% of your calories, but maybe do save like 25% of them for, when you know that you are most hungry. For most of us, that's going to be at night. So maybe you do save an entire meal for whenever you sit down on the couch after dinner and before bed. I know like digestion and sleep and all that stuff, but man, this is more important that you consume less calories than you burn. And this is going to be what ultimately gets you to your weight loss. For me, it doesn't impact my sleep much. If it impacts your sleep heavily, then maybe just throw out this point. But plan your meals around those hungriest times, and so this is, again, just battling hunger. But even with all of this entire system, the question remains, how many calories should you be eating? So I talk about that right here in this video, where the low calorie trap could be costing you your results. And so you got to make sure that you're eating enough calories, but you're not going too much. So I go over that here.